Flow, baby, flow. Today I am chatting with you a little more in depth about flow. What does it mean? How can we cultivate more of it in our lives? And what are some of those key elements that support us in having more flow moments in life? So I am, full disclosure, I'm going to refer to my laptop, which is where I've got my notes, and I'm excited to dive into this topic. Before I go into the 10 points I want to share, a little story comes to mind, and that is thinking about a river. And for me, growing up in the Midwest, I had access to rivers throughout my whole life, and playing in a river, looking at a river, crossing a river. And one of the things that really came to me as I was diving into this topic a little bit more for myself was how sometimes when I first looked at the river, it didn't appear there was a lot of movement or motion. But if I looked beyond really to the bottom, sometimes that's where the flow was really happening, in that deeper depth or more underneath the surface. And this is especially poignant for me right now because, as I'll share as I go through the points, as I'm going through my transitions, I haven't felt like there's a lot of flow. But that is not true. The flow is there. I'm just not seeing it on the surface the way most of us think about external achievement and getting things done. The flow and the movement is really happening underneath with things I'm letting go of, with space I'm giving myself to focus on health, with support that other people are providing on the side. So it's fascinating to really sit and contemplate as how flow is or isn't happening in our life, and to really look at it in a deeper level on what's going on. So that's my lead in to the story or to the message I want to share with you today. Okay, so first, flow. Things we need to know and remember about flow. Flow is a state of movement toward our goals, or a state of movement forward toward something that we desire to have, do, and be in our life. Again, we think of it often in the context of our goals and dreams. So flow is movement toward or forward. Flow is actually an idea that goes against a lot of what we've been taught. We've been taught with our goals and our dreams to seize the day and go for it, and you need to make it happen. You know, flow has this element of ease and grace to it. And yes, it still means you're doing things, but it's more from this place of a natural activity than force. So that's something to keep in mind. And a big piece of this here is allowing yourself to open your mindset, to shift your mindset that things can happen with grace and ease. And maybe even more importantly, that, hey, I desire to be in flow, to have flow in my life, to live with flow in all aspects of my life. Like really and truly setting and creating an intention around that. 3, flow cannot be forced. In fact, if we try and force flow, we're actually going to block flow. There is a lot of surrendering and receptivity and openness that happens to allow flow to occur. It's just almost like a little softening. And you know, how do we get tight sometimes when we really want to achieve something? Flow is a softening, and it's almost like that just breathing through it and knowing everything will unfold. And that can be when you're standing in line, you know, you want to look at the clock and I only have 10 minutes to get this errand done. And you can create flow by just breathing into the moment and relaxing and saying like, all will be achieved with grace and ease. Everything will get done on time. When you have some of those mindsets, then again, you are putting that signal out that this is a state I desire to live in, and you're allowing that, then you're opening up for that to actually occur. That's number 3. Okay, number 4. When we open ourselves to flow, we actually get into this place of trust and allow ourselves to then receive guidance, support, next steps. It moves it from this purely brain place to flow really can come from many, many different ways. So there's a trust that happens and occurs when we set the intention or allow ourselves to be in a state of flow. It's like, yeah, everything's going to get done in its divine time, in its divine way. I am supported. I'm not doing this alone, and I'm open to receive guidance, support, next steps, help, insights, whatever that is, to help move in a beautiful, fluid way toward your goals. Okay, number 5, this is a practical thing. So during your day, I encourage you can pause and acknowledge the flow kind of as it occurs. So let's say you're working on a project and there's some tasks that required phone calls. So maybe you were thinking about calling this person and the person called you. That's a synchronicity, but it's also an example of flow because you were able to make movement toward your goal and it was super easy. Or maybe you pick up the phone to make the phone call, the person answers, you have a very concise conversation, and the task is done. And oh, by the way, they gave you some other little tip that moved another piece of the project forward. That's an example of flow. Things happen with grace and ease. The more you acknowledge that in your day, and how cool to acknowledge it right as it occurs, you are attracting more of that into your life. Who doesn't want more flow? I know I do. And again, if this is a new concept for you, I invite you to open up to how your life might look and feel and be when you have more flow moments in your life. Okay, so now here's a little flip side. When things don't seem to be going well, when it seems like we're kind of, rubbing it up against some rocks. And again, I think about the river where sometimes a whole bunch of debris gets jammed in the river and that has to kind of break loose before the water can flow again. Or the water's, kind of flowing over, but it's mostly stuck. A key thing to do is not to continue to force. This is what I talked about in my initial video, but to actually take a step back. Take a step back from the project or task or goal or whatever it is. Get into inquiry. Like, I wonder what, or I wonder how. When we get into inquiry, we open a whole nother part of our brain and I think a bigger signal to the universe to get support. And just be in a place of inquiry, not even trying to get an answer, but just being open to guidance coming to you. And again, more often than not, you will get some nugget. And it might be, I forgot, my friend Sally has had the same thing, that I'm trying to do. I'm going to see what she did in this case. Or you might be guided to, go check a certain section in a book that you're reading. Or there's maybe a YouTube video that comes to mind. Or it could be a million different things. But when you're in this place of more grounded and relaxed and open, you're not all tensed up in the middle of your angst about why things aren't flowing, then that debris can clear out and you can get some fresh ideas. Okay? So that is a way to help you get back into flow if you feel like something is not flowing. And one other piece is that, well, let me see. Maybe this is part of the other one. Okay. So another piece of that is sometimes it's best just to walk away from the project for a period of time. Maybe something else is really calling for your attention that needs to be given your energy and time right now instead of this one particular project. And that could be for a day, that could be for a week, it could be even longer. One of my examples more recently, as I've been going through my inner inquiry and again, feeling like there's just like things weren't moving along, what really started coming to me strong is get your butt in the gym on a regular basis, like 5-6 days a week. And that's what I've been doing. It's like this mental, physical, spiritual fitness that I see now is going to be required for the next level of the work that I'm going to be doing. And there was this little piece that needed to get really rejuvenated, and that was related to my fitness. So again, it could be that there's another aspect of your life that's calling for your attention. When you do that and then come back to your project, you'll find that you'll have new energy, new insights, or again, you'll be able to just jump in and things will start flowing again. Okay. And then another thing about flow is flow does not have one speed. Sometimes, and again, if you think about projects you've done or where you've been in dreams and goals and deadlines, and I've seen this for myself as I was getting ready to go to Spain last year, and I was focusing on my house and I was very narrow, like the blinders were on. And let me tell you, so many days I never wrote a to-do list. I just intuitively went from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Pretty much that whole last week before I moved, that's exactly how I lived my life. I was in a major state of flow and it was amazing. So, and then sometimes there's little spurts of flow, right? Where you just get an inspired idea and then a bunch of things happen and then, I need a little space to regroup, and then there's some more flow. So don't judge yourself if things aren't flowing all the time. Give yourself some grace and a break, and know that you will absolutely, however you're flowing is the perfect thing for you. Just stay tapped into that inner intuition. If you feel stuck, again, do one of those other practices to step back. Okay, so the last thing is, what can you do? Excuse me, my screen isn't scrolling here. There we go. What can you do? There are things you can do to support yourself having flow besides what I talked about. These are more the self-care practices. So, number one, getting plenty of sleep. Like if we are not rested, if we're sleep deprived, nothing works as it should. So get sleep, drink lots of water. We are mostly water in our body. And when we stay hydrated, I've seen this for myself, the energy and everything just flows more fluidly for me in thoughts, ideas, actions, next steps. So keep yourself hydrated. Meditation, I can't say that enough. Getting yourself really grounded and centered at the beginning of your day with some practice that works for you. It could be breath work, a guided meditation, silent meditation, a short walk out in nature, whatever that is. I can't encourage you enough to have some type of meditative practice in the morning. Move your body. Man, we sit way, way, way too much. And I think I'm going to actually start doing my videos standing up because of it. And take a break, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get some vitamin D outside. I've been doing this more and more in my days. And let me tell you, it just refreshes me again on all levels. And this is what you want, just something that really, bam, just zaps you in multiple ways. Nothing like nature to do that, and vitamin D. And then eating healthy. And I'm not here to be the health coach, but we all know, like, junk in, junk out, what we put into our bodies, we are bringing the DNA, or lack of it, chemicals, into our body. And that food is interacting with our own biology and physiology. So again, this is something I'm seeing for myself, and by no means am I a perfect eater. I definitely am loving my dark chocolate and the occasional pastry, but I'm being very conscientious to see where am I getting into patterns, and how do I feel, and where is it dragging me down and making me lethargic, and it adds up. It adds up. So check your eating. And then the last piece of the self-care piece is give yourself huge doses of self-love every day. You can do mirror work, write gratitude statements about yourself, find those things that most resonate with you. I've got a bunch of ideas, in my book, on my YouTube channel, and find something that resonates with you to do. Okay, my friend, that is my flow message and stories for you today. I am wishing you so much love today and always. Now go get flowing.